How's everybody doing, and welcome to the fish room. Today I want to do a video on this tank here. This is my 55-gallon. It's running off of 2 sponge filters. I have some yellow half black guppies in here which are breeding very well, and I want to kind of document that today. And I also have an assortment of bristlenose plecos in here. Taking a closer look, there are baby guppies in every square inch of this tank. There's probably hundreds of baby guppies in here. And it's really cool to see all these guppies. So what I had in here, and if you guys have followed the channel, I showed a video of this tank where I had all the adults in here. And they were starting to outgrow the tank. I had probably 70 adults in here. And they were obviously still breeding, having babies. And none of those babies would have been surviving if it wasn't for all this coverage. I have a lot of acrylic yarn in this tank. There's some moss growing on top of it here. All the way through the bottom of the tank, I have some fake plants that cover the top of the tank. So there's really a lot of hiding places in here. And I feed these guys some crushed up flake food. I'll put a link in the description for the food I feed. I've been feeding these guys a lot smaller food, crushing the flake up real small. Instead of just throwing big flakes in there, I almost kind of powder it up. And I've been feeding them twice a day, morning and night, along with some algae wafers that they can kind of pick at all day long, and also feed the plecos in here. But to have this many babies in a tank, you really got to have a lot of coverage. And I have tanks with the same amount of coverage, but they don't breed as well. I really think whenever it comes to guppies and breeding guppies, once they have their first babies and they don't eat them and they get to hide and the babies swim away, they kind of get used to seeing the babies in the tank without them always just being a food source. Once those first babies can kind of dart away down in this yarn and hide out, and the parents get used to seeing them come in and out, babies from then on do much better. Because they start to kind of leave them alone, and you can see some little babies swimming in and out of there. And it was really cool to see that whenever I had all the adults in this tank, you really didn't see many babies. Once I sold all the adults out of this tank, obviously the babies were still there, but they were all at the bottom. They started to come up through the top of the tank and really explore. And some of them are obviously a little bit larger now, so the parents can't eat them. But once they get used to seeing babies in a tank, my personal opinion, I don't know if there's any logic and any proof to back me up on this, but I think once they get used to seeing babies in the tank and they're not constantly hunting them down to eat them, they really start to leave them alone. They might kind of dart at them, but they don't pursue them until they eat them. So I think whenever you have some babies in a tank, it promotes more babies. Obviously they're going to be breeding, they're going to be having their babies regardless, but I do think once they get used to seeing babies and not being able to eat them because there's enough hiding places, they kind of give up on it. They used to see them, and they'll leave those real small brand new babies alone, which I think is really cool. I'm doing some water changes now, which I don't really enjoy, but I enjoy the baby guppies, so I gotta move that hose right now. But I want to show you some cool things in the fish room while I'm doing my water changes. Alright, so I got my pump moved down here, doing some more water changes, but I'll keep showing this tank. This is a really good way of doing water changes. If you just do like a mag drive pump down there, connect it to a hose that goes to the floor drain, and always put a cover over it. And this tank's gonna drain just in a minute or two. But let's keep looking at this tank. I'm just gonna kind of zoom in on some of the babies. Let's take a good look at them. But really excited to grow these guys up. I'll probably move them around into some different grow out tanks. And as they turn into males and females, I'm gonna separate them. That way I can kind of start my next generation of breeding. You can see these guys even get a little bit of blue on them, which I think is pretty cool on that male. If it'll focus in for us. That's not exactly what I'm going for, but I've not really been fighting a lot of the colors I'm getting, so I need to focus back in. But I'm just looking for a healthy, good looking guppy. Obviously I breed some of my strains. I have my yellow half black, so one of my favorites right now. But long as all the babies come out and they have good body shape, nice big delta tails, if they have a little bit of color, it doesn't bother me. I may not keep breeding them, but to me that's not really a failure in breeding guppies. I think that's part of the fun. You get some cool variations, but just this little camera shot right here I think is really enjoyable, seeing how many baby guppies are in this tank, just going in and out of the moss all over the tank. We'll feed these guys a little bit, but I have to keep doing my water changes. I just wanted to chime in today and kind of document this tank, like I said. And this is a really nice male guppy right there. You can see him with hanging out in the plants. He's kind of just hanging out, displaying himself. I like how these guys have such large tails, but they don't really sag on them too much. They hold their body shape pretty well. It's important when you're breeding guppies that the males, you kind of breed for the size. You don't want to have real small, weak males that can't carry their tails. So working on color, health, and also body shape and size. But thank you guys all for watching. Stay tuned, I have a lot of videos coming out. I want to do more frequent videos and maybe a little bit shorter because it is late. I do my videos after work. So it's hard to do consistent content all the time because I do work long hours. But thank you guys all for watching. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe, follow along on the journey, and stay tuned and have a good one.